Okay. Okay. Today we are going to dive deeper into linear, and we are going to be working on linear for the rest of the school year 25 and for about 2.5, 3 weeks of 26. Okay? In 8th grade, your standard is to know all things inside and out about lines and to be able to identify when something is linear and not linear. So all the U's and the V's, we're not going to get into exactly how to graph them, tell me all these things about them. All you have to be able to do is say, that's a line, that's not a line. And you need to be able to do it from a picture and from an equation. And hopefully after our Desmos activity, talking about it yesterday and again today, you know that as long as we don't mess with X, we create a line. And everything you graph today better be a line. Everything on your homework better be a line. And on the test, because that's the focus, I'm only going to have you graph lines. I'm going to have you identify linear, nonlinear from pictures and equations, but I'm not going to make you graph U's and V's because that is really an algebra standard. You have to understand the difference in 8th grade, but you don't have to get all down deep in all the things related to the curves and the V shapes till next year. And you can do that next year because you're going to have a really good understanding of all things linear from this year. First thing we need to know is the main vocabulary. And what is a solution? We are going to be finding solutions over the next few weeks. And that is going to be an ordered pair. And it's important that we understand it's an ordered pair because anytime I'm working with a variable with 2 letters, the only way we're going to get something that's a solution, it's going to be an ordered pair that makes it true. Okay? If you don't have an X and a Y, which means you can't tell me that X is 5. You can't tell me that Y is 7. Because X is 5 and Y is 7 only sometimes. X is 5 when Y is this, but X is 6 when Y is this, and X is 7 when Y is something else. So the only thing that is going to make it true is an ordered pair. And then a linear equation, which is what we're going to be talking about, it creates a linear because when I put all the solutions that we find, think of the table, when I take the solutions and I put them on a graph, I get a straight line. Okay? That's why it's called linear, because it makes a straight line. Yes? We're going to get there. Oh, that's a typo. We'll cross about that. Let's stay where we're at here. How's that sound? All right, let's look at the first one here. It says determine if this is a solution. So the question is, does this ordered pair, and I've had so much trouble with this PowerPoint today, with this one slide. No, let me get the pen. It's saying, does this, have to get creative. Does this make it true or not? This is a yes or no question. Do you think you're going to be able to just say yes or say no and move on? What am I probably going to make you do? Not solve it. I don't need to solve it. I have one there. I'm going to make you prove it. How am I going to prove it? Well, I'm going to plug in 0 for X. And I'm going to plug in -8 for Y. Probably one of the most common mistakes is kids put 0 in for Y and -8 in for X. Why do you think people make that mistake? None of you are going to make that mistake, are you? Why do you think, Alexis?
Maybe because, Y is the right side.
Right, and this one, Y is first, so they put whatever comes first. You have to remember that in an ordered pair, the X value is first, the Y value is second. So we're going to plug it in. We're going to put -8 equals 3 times 0 minus 8. And we're going to do that math. We're going to simplify those two things. -8 equals 0 minus 8. And -8 equals -8. Is that true? Yes. Since that is true, my answer is Yes. If that had been false, my answer would be no. And on the test, every year I get kids that plug in the numbers wrong and get no, and the answer's no, but their proof is wrong. They don't get points for that. So it's not really a 50-50. You have to prove why it's no, and you have to prove why it's no correctly. You try letter B right now. You're going to plug 6 into X and negative 10 into Y. Try not to do things mentally. The number of silly integer mistakes that get made is always crazy. Negative 10 equals 18 minus 8. And you get negative 10 equals 10. And I get lots of people like, true. No, this is false. Is this a solution? This one would be no. So determine is yes or no. Showing me why you're saying yes or why you're saying no. It's really like just plugging in values in the table like we did all weekend. It's just looking at one specific one. When you get to B, C, oh, let me turn that off. Go back. Here we go. Well, maybe. When we get to C, this is saying find the solution. So now instead of test the solution, I'm saying, hey, this is sort of like me giving you that graph and saying, what's happening here? I'm asking you what's happening at 0, but I'm not giving you the picture. If you want to know what's happening at 0 without the picture, you got to take 0 and plug it in. You're going to get y equals negative 2 times 0 plus 1. Y equals 0 plus 1. Y equals 1, but that is not your answer. So write it on your paper like that, and let's talk about why this is not the answer. And if you put that on the answer blank, I got to count it totally wrong. Why is it not the answer? Because this says y is always 1. Is y always 1? No, y is 1 when? This is the solution that I found, 0, 1. It's not always 1 because if I had plugged a 1 in there, I would have gotten a different answer. And if I would have plugged a 2 in there, I would have got a different answer. I plugged in negative 2, different answer. So, yes, you get y is 1, but that's only when it's that way. This is not the answer. This is a special case we're going to talk about in a minute. Have to write it as an ordered pair. You try D right now. This is literally like doing one row of the table. So again, not learning anything new today, just kind of looking at different ways to analyze it. Negative 1/2 of 20 plus 1 is going to be negative 10 plus 1, which is going to be negative 9. And I just stop writing y so that I don't accidentally put on my answer blank y equals negative 9. I kind of always might write mine like this. And then when I go to write the answer, I say, okay, I got to put this together with an answer. What would be my answer? It has to be the ordered pair 20, negative 9. Is that making sense on solutions? Okay, so when we go to graph, this is what we did on Friday. This is review from last class. I'm just putting it into some steps for anybody who forgets, was absent, can't remember. You got to make a table of 5 values. These values are solutions. And they should be 2 negatives, 2 positives, and what number did I say you always have to use? Always has to use 0. You're going to plot them on the grid. You're going to draw the line all the way through the graph. Extend it all the way with arrows and labels. Don't forget. Exactly what we did in class on Friday. That's just kind of like a step-by-step guide, what you got to do. Let's try one. All right. I know you guys have -0 on your paper. That's a typo. I took it off the PowerPoint because it's a typo. I'm going to take -1 and I'm going to plug it in for x. What do I get when I plug in -1 for x? I still get 5. Miss Kearns, there's no x. I know, so can I plug it in anywhere? So when I plug in -1 or 0 or 1 or 50, what is y always going to be? This is telling me y is always 5, which is the ordered pair -1, 5, and 0, 5, and 1, 5. -1, 5, 0, 5, 1, 5. I could plug in 6 and I would get 5. I could plug in -6 and get 5. What kind of line am I getting? They're all linear. Lines are linear. Don't say straight. I've said that every day today. What kind of line? Everybody's like, straight. It better be straight. This is a horizontal line. Now, that might be challenging for some people because which axis is horizontal? The x or the y? The x is horizontal, yet when I have y equals 5, I get a horizontal. It's kind of opposite, right? When you get y equals, it's going to be something that runs along parallel to the x. What if I ask you to graph y equals -2 on the same grid? Could you do that? Without a table? Would you need a table to graph y equals -2? No, it would be down here wherever y is -2. All of these values. Y equals -2. Can you guys visualize what y equals 30 looks like? 30 above, horizontal. Y equals -12, 12 below, horizontal. Does that make sense? Would this be a function? It would pass each of those individually would pass the function test. What if we go with the other letter? What if I give you x equals 5? This is going to be a vertical line. All the places x is 5. And there's a bunch of those. X equals 5. And again, that's kind of opposite. It's running with the y-axis, even though it says x equal. Could you all graph x equals -2? Where would x equals -2 be? Every place that x is -2. Would either of these lines pass the vertical line test? So would either of these be functions? Not a function. Okay, so the last special case we need to talk about is example F. And F is much like what we did on Thursday when I saw you last. Still going to make a table, still going to do points, all of those things. There's a problem with F, though, that makes it different than what we've been dealing with all along. What is different about X? Right, it's not solved for X. Oh, not Y, X. Not solved for Y, my bad. If I had to plug in and make a table, I would have to plug in a number, and then I would have to subtract the number, and that would give me y. And then if I plugged in a different number, I would have to take half of it and then subtract it. And if I plugged in a third number in the table, I have to plug it in, do the math, subtract it. Does everybody see? If it's not solved for y, what would make completing a table easier? Solve for y. Why do you think I spend so much time teaching you how to solve for y? Because anytime you have an equation to graph, it is so much faster, So much easier, so much less mental math work if you solve your equation for y. So what should your first step be? Solve for y. How would I solve that for y? What would I need to do there? Well, maybe it'll let me bring down my pen. There we go. What would I need to do here, Alexis? Subtract 1/2 of x, which would leave me with y equals negative 1/2 x plus 2. Always write the constant term last. Lots of kids want to say clear the fraction. As soon as they see that fraction, oh, we need to clear the fraction first. You don't have to clear the fraction if you just need to subtract something over. You could clear the fraction, but that would make more work. Does that make sense? So let's look at what it's going to look like if I graph this. What? Why did I pick the numbers that I picked here? Why did I pick -4, -2, 0, 2, and 4, Brielle?
Because it's times a half.
Right, I got to take -1/2 times x and then add 2. That's what we got when we subtracted this and solve for y. Are you all following? All right, let's plug it in. What is -1/2 times -4 plus 2 going to give me? What is -1/2 times -4? Negative times a negative is a positive, and half of 4 is, so I have 2 plus 2, 4. So my first ordered pair is -4, 4. Let's plot it up here in quadrant number 2. Finish that table out right now. I'm going to turn the answer key on in just a second. I want you to take some time. Exact same process as Thursday. Don't leave till you get a copy of today's assignment. It's 38. Here's what my graph looked like. Again, you're plugging those in. Remember, everything's got to be linear. Arrows, labels, all of those items. This is due tomorrow. There's only 10 of those to do. Plug those in. Yep. Sorry about that. This is 38. If they didn't get one over there and you guys got a bunch.
Sonny, you always get upset whenever I hand them out. They just take forever. Where are you going? Well, there's
That's my second period.
oh, you live with Ben Grandin?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Dang.
What business?
Ha.
I am going to band.
Oh wait, what band are you in?
Concert.
Oh,
What are you in?
okay, I'm in varsity. I was supposed to be in the beginning, but they didn't have percussion, so it's your